But I know it's Easter, but I watched a Christmas episode of Maude. Do you remember this one?
No, I don't.
Why are you laughing already?
Or maybe I do.
You think I'm making this up, Sean? I saw a
I did not say you were making it. How could you make Maude up?
No, it was very topical. And Walter got Maude a pet rock. You remember pet rocks were the rage for 1 year?
Do you remember pet rocks?
For 1 year
it was
in the
about
70s.
It was pet rocks and mood rings were about the same time.
Yeah, and Walter got Maude a pet rock, and she was not happy with this present. But what happened was their grandkid, Philip, he took it to school for show and tell, and Maude was so upset, and she goes to Vivian, played by Rue McClanahan. Did I say her name right?
Yes.
Help her get it back from school because he's taking it to school. And she's like, why do you need this rock back? Why are you so upset about getting this rock back? So they sneak into the school. Maude dresses up like a janitor. It's very slapstick, not like your typical Maude episode. And she gets the rock back, gets it home. And Vivian still wants to know why she wants this rock back. And then she sees that Walter has been bludgeoned to death with a blunt object. And the end of the episode is Maude washing blood off of this rock in the sink, like presumed innocent.
Right.
And so,
Yes, I do remember that episode.
It's the Seti Bimco Show. The hosts are called Tim and John. The cafeteria is called a place to consume food. Food is called a thing that brings us joy. Joy is something called a distant memory.
Well, here's the thing, I remember watching Maude in the beginning, and then, a lot of the episodes I saw as an adult, I don't know if they were on TV Land or some sort of channel like that. I'm not sure. I do just remember seeing them later, like in the 90s. But I remember that we'd watch Maude, and then all of a sudden we weren't watching Maude. And I don't know, it could have been something as simple as there was something else on we were watching that came on at the same time.
What did was your mom like, whoa, abortion episode, we're not watching this anymore?
Well, that was what I was thinking. Did the church, being the good Catholics we were at the time, did the church tell everybody stop watching Maude because of the abortion?
Well, you remember, I'll tell you something. You remember way back, was it episode 1 when I talked about getting the pirate comics that were homosexual in nature? Well, when I started
pirate on pirate action,
when I started checking the mail carefully, I noticed this was always there, but I never looked. It was the Catholic newsletter, and I just happened to look in the back, and I realized there's a list of movies here I'm not supposed to see, and that's why my parents were like, no, you're not. It wasn't supposed to see Grease. Wasn't supposed to be, seeing certain things. So they did send out a little rule book.
Yeah. So maybe that's why we stopped watching Maude. I don't know.
Don't know if your mom got that little newsletter.
I don't know. I don't recall a news, but we were.
If you weren't checking the mail for gay porn, then you weren't looking at stuff like I was.
That's just it. I never got the mail. Yeah, that was like an adult's job.
I think I tried to have a pen pal through Big Blue Marble and things.
I had a couple pen pals. So I had a pen pal from India, and I had a pen pal from Ghana. And I remember the pen pal from Ghana, like the first few letters he wrote about, he wanted a wristwatch. And then he didn't mention it in the third letter. And in the fourth letter, he finally said, I would really like that wristwatch. And then I sent him the wristwatch, and then I never heard from him again.
Wait, was it your wristwatch?
No, I just found if you ever remember, like the old time pharmacy sold everything. They'd have it was almost kind of like a department store, and they had some cheap watches in the.
Wait, you got to back up. You're leaving out some. First of all, he's your pen pal, but why did he know about this wristwatch he wanted?
He just wanted a wristwatch. I guess that was the goal. I guess his plan, his scheme was to get an American pen pal.
To get a wristwatch.
Wow.
Is he the guy that grew up till then? He learned I need to deposit some money into your account kind of guy?
Maybe. I bet he's that guy. He's the one posing as the Nigerian prince.
Wow.
I'll bet you that. Yeah. I was like, well, okay, fine.
That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad. That's very sad. I couldn't even get a kid from a third world country to write to me. I mean, come on.
I do want to say one thing about last week.
What?
And then I'll.
It's a criticism.
I think you have things.
It's a criticism.
I talk over you so much.
That's all right, Tim. Don't worry. It's your show.
No, it's criticizing me. I'm so happy that Marcy talked with us so long.
Right.
That's fine. We love to talk to people, but we read Dirk's letter, and we kind of were like, "That's nice." Now on to Marcy. And I just wanted to say, I'm thankful for Dirk's heartfelt and nice letter. It made me uncomfortable because British people are known for being cold and heartless and frigid. So Dirk. Dirk.
Yeah.
What do I want to say? I was unexpected at Dirk's heartfelt letter. I don't know if he's from Britain. I think he might be a Deltan. You know what a Deltan is?
I don't know what a Deltan is. Is that like a Klingon? I don't know.
Oh, you're close. They are an alien from the Star Trek universe. They're an alien that they make love when they greet you, and when they join Starfleet, they have to sign an oath of celibacy. You remember the motion picture the first one?
Yes.
The bald woman. She was a Deltan.
Oh, she was a Deltan. Yeah. Okay.
There. I just wanted to say that. Thanks, Dirk, for your nice letter.
Dirk. You're a regular Deltan to us. As long as it's so funny you were bringing up past episodes because I just wanted to kind of clear up a couple things.
Uh-oh.
I did notice, like in the episodes, you keep saying, I forgot to pick up Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck was not my responsibility. I was like what you would call the last resort.
Right.
In fact, I wanted to go to that party so bad, and my friend told me, no, you can't go to that party. They're not. His exact words were, they're not letting just anyone in. Ouch.
Right.
So it was not my responsibility. It was not my job to have anything to do with Gregory Peck. They were the ones, somebody on that end dropped the ball.
Wow.
So when he calls me frantically, I'm not above a little, you want to call it, some people may call it blackmail. I call it a bargaining chip. I was not above setting a couple terms if I went to pick this guy up. You know what I'm saying? Legend or not.
And he tried to keep you out.
I wanted something out of this. So I said, I will pick him up, but I have to be let into the party. And I think he said yes. And I'm thinking that even if he did come outside to greet me, he would have told me, sorry, I can't let you in. So getting into the party, I think, was all Gregory Peck. I think if it were not for Gregory Peck, I would not have gotten in that party.
Did you find your friend once you got in there?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Was he like, how'd you get in?
I was mulling that over in my brain. No, I don't. But see, he was sort of like a mid-level. I mean, he was a mid-level peon, underpaid, overworked. Right. So the more I think about it, I really didn't get to see much of him because it was a party, but for him, it was still work. Anything that was involved with that TV movie was work for him. He never got to just kick back and enjoy it. I thought on his deathbed, he would, with his final breaths, he would have admitted to me, I have to be honest with you, John, I wasn't going to let you in the party, but I guess he had other things on his mind. So I never did get a deathbed confession out of him. And I just, at that point, I didn't want to push it,
No. It is Easter, and Charlie from the SETI BIMCO Orchestra.
What's happened to Charlie from the SETI BIMCO Orchestra?
He took the week off for Easter. So I hope the opening music sounded okay.
I thought Charlie was Jewish, but what do I know?
Well, yeah, he's not very religious. He just loves doing the Stations of the Cross.
He just loves doing the Stations of the Cross and chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, he never makes it all the way. He usually falls off his unicycle and bangs his head right through the.
He loves going to the Catholic Church because it's actually the one religious institution that may have a bit more guilt than his own.
Right.
I tell you what, Charlie taking Easter off, and I bought his son that really nice gift for his bar mitzvah, and now he's taking Easter off. Well, Charlie, you can't have it both ways. I might be asking for the bar mitzvah present back.
This is the SETI BIMCO show. This is episode 9, right?
9, yes.
Every other week, we talk with somebody about their embarrassing high school calamities or weirdness. And every other week, we look at old movies because, I don't know, we're hedging our bets with this. But season 2, we both of us could be fired, and there'll be 2 other people here, and they'll just interview people, or they'll just do movies.
Right. And then it'll be like Conan O'Brien and Jay Leno. Then somewhere down the line, they'll get fired, and they'll just bring us back.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to give it up for Jimmy Fallon.
Miss Lee, the producer. Who knows who she'll hire?
I might be filing several grievances about Miss Lee to SAG-AFTRA, but don't tell her that.
To SAG-AFTRA. You should explain what that is.
SAG-AFTRA. Well, they were 2 separate unions, and now a few years ago they merged, so it's SAG-AFTRA.
Okay.
So you only have to join one union. You can work in television and screen, and before you had to join both unions if you wanted to work in both media.
And then there's that has insurance.
Excellent health insurance. As the last I heard, that is actually excellent insurance.
So when Charlie from the orchestra is doing the Stations of the Cross again this year, and he falls off his unicycle halfway through and bumps his head on his tuba, that's all paid for.
That's all paid for. Charlie's in.
As I told him to wear his helmet, but he says it would cover
does Charlie listen?
He has a tattoo of a pancake on his head. He doesn't want that covered up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's a pancake shaped like a penis, but
anyway,
let's get back on to what's that? You have questions about Charlie?
No. Charlie, I'm just saying Charlie can be very difficult to work with. He's very moody. But tuba players are very moody.
They are.
You know what killed the tuba? The electric bass. Do you want to hear this story? Before they invented
drag this out. I want to talk.
The things you learn about on NPR. I am stealing a story from NPR.
Okay, go ahead.
There was the stand-up acoustic bass, which they still play. But the recording technology was not sophisticated enough. The microphones could not pick up an acoustic bass. So the bass line, this is like in the 20s and maybe 30, I don't know how long into the 30s, the tuba was the bass line. The microphones could pick that up. And then they invented the electric bass, which, obviously with amplifiers and everything would come through. And then that kind of killed the tuba.
Thank God.
So
can you imagine Paul McCartney playing the tuba in the Beatles?
I know. Well, do you notice how we've had these very mysterious deaths with all our bass players in the Steady Bimco Orchestra? It's like the drummers in Spinal Tap. We're going through bass players like the drummers in Spinal Tap.
Right.
I can't pin it on Charlie, but it is a well-known fact that tuba players do hold a grudge against bass players. I'm just saying.
All right, well, okay. We'll talk to him when he gets back next week.
We think he's coming back next week. Who knows? He may.
I saw him the other day. He was cleaning blood off of his pet rock. So I don't know.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say. I said maybe a DNA swab has come back positive.
Picked this movie this week. It's called Psychomania, and I'd actually never heard of it. It just popped up. I don't know where I saw it. I saw an ad somewhere because I think maybe I saw an ad on the Twitters.
On the Twitters.
Psychomania. A polite motorcycle gang leader has tea with his mummy and asks what the secret to coming back from the dead is. It involves some sort of frog worshipping and witches, and soon all the biker gang members want to die and come back so they can run cars off the road and annoy people in general.
And of course, this being Easter,
yes,
a common theme of Easter is resurrection.
True, but I'll let you talk. You go ahead and start since you. I see your notes.
Well, I got watching it. I thought, well, this is a very. It reminded me of those Hammer films, the old Dracula Hammer films with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, those movies. And actually, I did see where it was produced by Hammer Films, and it does have that feel that it's that low budget feel that these movies had that I think really makes the movies. I think of, when they reboot or remake something like Night of the Living Dead or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it almost gets too slick and too glossy where I don't enjoy it. I enjoy the original low budget production values. I love movies like this.
I was not sure whether the movie makers were having an argument whether this should be a comedy or scary, because they didn't go very far either way. But I was laughing at some of it where I thought, you guys obviously think this is funny. But they weren't trying too hard to be funny or too hard to be scary.
Right. They kind of didn't. Were they hoping to get more budget for the special effects? Maybe the original concept was going to be a little more gore. Maybe. Well,
that's why I said Polite Motorcycle Gang. They have these outfits that seem to be designed by the local middle school kids.
Yeah,
they're supposed to have skulls on their helmet, but it kind of looked like antennas drawn on some funny faces.
Yeah, and they kind of look like houseflies in the eyes,
right.
With those big white goggles. And then, of course, the good girl, or the relatively good girl, Abby, the girlfriend of the main character. She was just like basically dressed in denim. She didn't even bother with the leather.
No, because he had some leather pants on. I got the names here. Tommy, played by Nicky Henson. And did you see what else he was on?
There are a lot. There. I'm going to tell you right now, Tim. I have some of them may be a little obscure, but there are a lot of tie-ins to things we have discussed before.
Yes,
but yes, when you Google Nicky Henson, one of the first things that pops up in the image page is a picture of Nicky Henson
with
Prunella Scales
on Fawlty Towers
as Connie Fawlty on Fawlty. He played, and I remember this episode. He played Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, he was like this great lover, this Lothario. And I got thinking, Mr. Johnson.
Had his shirt
that's
open.
Is that kind of obvious, Mr. Johnson?
I just got that.
Yeah. It kind of just hit me but I do remember, and the premise of the episode was that John Cleese wanted to catch Nicky Henson's character with a woman in his room. That was like the whole. He just despised him. He was jealous of him. The girls were swooning over him.
Yes.
And he was going to catch him with. He was sure he was going to catch him with a woman in his room, and he was going to be able to boot him out on like moral grounds or something. I guess.
And
I don't know.
Fawlty was kind of fawning over him.
Oh yeah, they were all fawning over him. He was a very good looking man. Especially as English actors go.
Yes, and he was also on Downton Abbey. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that, but I didn't pull up the credit. He didn't have a long, but it wasn't a big.
No. It
wasn't a big part. It was like one of those. He came in for an episode or two.
Did you watch all of Downton Abbey?
I didn't watch all of it. I'm going to admit, I miss.
I had a feeling you would have watched it all.
I watched most of it. I did watch most of it.
So Don Sharp.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Now we got off on a tangent. We should be talking about
Don Sharp directed this.
Don Sharp, who did a lot of the Hammer films.
There's something interesting I found out, and I can't find anything more about it, and I'd love to find out more. Don Sharp, he started producing and directing a movie called The Micronauts, a Shrunken Man Epic, and it was to have starred Gregory Peck and Lee Remick. But this film is one of those films that they worked on it, and it fell apart, and it was never made. And I can't find, I thought online I'd find a description of the plot. I can't find it anywhere. I'd love to know what that movie is supposed to be about.
Because didn't Gregory Peck and Lee Remick do The Omen together?
Oh, I think so. The Omen is Gregory Peck and Lee Remick.
Yeah, and then the second one was William Holden and Lee Grant. Okay. I did know that. So are we going back to Psychomania now?
Yeah, we're sticking with it. We're sticking with Psychomania through this whole episode, John.
I love it because I recognize a lot of people in this movie.
Well, John,
do you want to keep going on it? Do you want to keep going on about the plot a little more before we get into the actors and other credits and things I remember them from?
Oh, sure. I had lots of thoughts about this plot. mostly that. Oh well, we got George Sanders right away. I think we should.
George Sanders.
He's in this movie.
He is in
Mr.
this.
Shadwell.
Mr. Shadwell, the butler,
First of all,
using air quotes.
Did you know what was going on in this plot of this movie, or are we supposed to put it together ourselves? Because I don't know what the frog cult is. At the beginning of the movie, there is a seance because the mother of Tommy, the leader of the bike gang, she can communicate with the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And the people leave and they're like, oh, thank you. I think they talk to their son and they give
daughter.
Yeah,
son or daughter. Yeah, one of them. It was child and grandchild because I think they were the parents and the grandparents.
They give Mr. Shadwell a golden crucifix as they're leaving, and he's like, how dare you, get out. I don't want this. And I thought, are they vampires or something? But
she doesn't take payment.
I think they're just, well, he didn't want that golden crucifix. He was like, oh my God.
Right, yeah.
I think they're just witches and
yeah.
And,
they don't worship, like the seven witches, the stones, which kind of look like Stonehenge.
He was,
it was some sort of like pagan, we'll say pagan religion or something.
It was because you saw this cottage had nice wooden paneling in the hall, and you went into her room and it was awful. I don't know if you saw the 70s wall design.
Yes.
I'm hoping that wasn't permanent. I hope they didn't destroy that nice cottage for this movie. It was like, your 70s design. It was like big red vertical lines, and they had a red chair and a green chair and a black chair.
Right. Well, I'm seeing where it was filmed at Shepperton Studios.
Yes.
In the closing credits, and I'm thinking that it was so low budget they probably just had these sets from other Hammer films, and they're just like, here,
maybe
have at it. You can use any of this.
I never saw a film designed like that.
Well, who knows?
Hammer films are always like Son of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, Vampire of Frankenstein.
Right, yeah. Daughter of Dracula, yeah. Daughter of Dracula, and yeah. So who knows? They're just like, here, this is what we've got. Work it out,
But George Sanders, I remember, sadly, I think I remember his face because he was Mr. Freeze in the 60s Batman show.
He was one of three Mr. Freezes.
Yes. He was in
I want to back up a little because he won the Oscar for playing Addison DeWitt, Best Supporting Actor in All About Eve, 1950.
Okay.
I believe he was the first actor to play Mr. Freeze.
All right.
And then Otto Preminger played him, who was mostly known as a director. And then Eli Wallach played him. They had three different actors play.
That's right.
Mr.
known
Freeze.
For those spaghetti westerns.
Exactly. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. What do they call that? The Man with No Name trilogy. Yes, that was the Clint Eastwood. Yeah, that was the Fistful of Dollars. What was it? Fistful of Dollars, The Good, Bad, the Ugly, and was it A Man with No Name? Was that
no?
One
it was a Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
But anyway, one of George Sanders' co-stars in All About Eve, Ann Baxter, who played Eve, do you remember she in the Batman series played Olga, Queen of the Cossacks.
I don't remember that.
Opposite Egghead, played by Vincent Price, who was in Ringo.
Okay.
Things are see how things are kind of like, so two things that have come full circle. This is our SETIverse. Nikki Henson with Prunella in Fawlty Towers. George Sanders.
Are you okay?
George Sanders with Ann Baxter.
I don't know where you're going.
With Vincent Price in Ringo.
Right.
It's all coming back now. The only thing I can't work into this is Exorcist II: The Heretic.
We don't need to.
We don't need to. That
John Levine was in this. He was in Doctor Who in the 70s a lot as Commander.
Yes. Yeah.
And Beryl Reid, who is the mother, she was in a Doctor Who story in the 80s. She played a military, like a general, I forget. But this frog god, I Googled frog gods, and they worship frogs in Nepal. And of course, frogs are associated with witches. And that's about all I could find. and this guy, the Tom, was obsessed with finding a frog. He found a frog and brought it home to Shadwell, and Shadwell was very happy to get the frog.
Right.
And Tom wants his mother to tell him what the secret of coming back from the dead is, because his father seemed to disappear and die in some room that Tom went into. And once Tom went into this room, the door disappeared. What do you think happened to Tom in that room?
You know, I know he found the father's glasses and he put them on. So was he seeing?
I don't know.
I don't know. Was he seeing like through his father's eyes, and then the mirror, and then they had the mother, and that was obviously Tom as a baby, and they were out at the Seven Witches.
Oh, I forgot.
And the hand with the turtle ring on.
Well, I think it's a frog. It was a frog, wasn't it?
Or excuse me, frog. I didn't mean to say frog. I got my amphibians mixed up.
Yes, you always had that problem.
He answers the contract, and she signs this contract, which is very Faustian.
Maybe their father was a part of the deal.
He might have been part of or maybe he was just an unwilling participant, and finally he just had enough. And because you were always saying he didn't believe, like if he had believed he could have come back, he would have, but he didn't believe. So maybe he reluctantly, I don't think he wanted anything to do with this frog cult, is what I'm guessing. I'm thinking there's a lot of film on a cutting room floor somewhere. Because the movie itself was only like an hour and almost exactly an hour and 30 minutes.
Wow, that was.
I'm thinking. You know, I didn't think it was that bad though. I didn't think. I mean, do I think it was great? No, of course I don't think it was great. But it wasn't.
Well, this biker gang, again, this was like Mazes and Monsters with that college. It was so boring. This was the most boring biker gang. They would ride up to the truck and give the guy raspberries. Remember that? They're taunting him. I mean, they did break the windows of this one car that these two old ladies were in.
Right.
And they did.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else did they do? They went through
the baby carriage scene disturbed me.
Yeah. Oh,
that kind of
going to get there. They did all this silly stuff, and then they go to the supermarket, and this girl on the motorcycle, she kind of runs down a baby carriage.
That was disturbing. That I think that should have wound up on the cutting room.
Really, everything else was so silly. Well, you're right; it didn't fit.
Well, that's what I mean. That was ooh, because it was so silly. And then all of a sudden, she runs over a baby carriage with a baby in it.
Yes,
on a motorcycle, and I was like, ooh. Eek.
Because they went to the shopping plaza, and it was almost like, again, an Abbott and Costello movie, because it was a man that had a ladder, and he decided, I'm going to climb to the top of this ladder because these bikers are running around bothering people, and I'm like, you're going to get knocked off the ladder, obviously, and that's what happened to him. Luckily, he fell on a bunch of boxes. And she kind of pushed him into the boxes. I think that was Abby. I think Abby was at heart a good girl.
She was. She was. I think she was kind of more into the fun of it, not into the destructiveness of it.
I think she made their outfits with the pink letters and the fun skull. It was like a fun little cartoon skull they had in their jackets.
Right, yeah.
And they were called the Living Dead. He finds out that you just have to believe you're going to come back from the dead.
Right.
And he drives off a bridge. Again, they didn't have a lot of special effect money because I thought, it'd be more fun if he just drove head on to another car, burst into flames, got on a unicycle and rode around with his tuba until he fell and hit his head. God, we're quickly.
There you go.
He wrote off.
I'm sure all this is on the cutting room floor, Tim. Did you see a director's cut by any chance? Because you seem to know a lot more about this film than I do. The tuba, that was the missing link. That was the segue that was missing.
But they bury him sitting on his motorcycle. Well,
and his head is above ground.
And another thing, they ask his mom, they ask the priest, I forget. They're like, can we have his body and bury it? And he's like, yeah, I guess. In England, we don't care. In England, we don't care where you bury bodies.
Yeah. The mother. Yeah, this is near a World Heritage site. I'm assuming it's an historical protection. It's who's gonna it'd be like going to the FDR house in Hyde Park and saying, "Hey, I'd like to bury a relative here." You just bring some shovels and start digging. I mean, at Mount Vernon or Monticello, you wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, federal park rangers would be on you. You'd be doing time in federal prison. I mean,
and I think this is one time we could play a song in the show. I don't think anyone will sue us if we play the song from. I'm going to play a bit of it. This sappy song.
And by the way, I saw the opening credits where they had the title of the song, music by, lyrics by, performed by, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a sappy song. And in that regard, it did not disappoint.
No. And did you notice the one biker obviously knew nothing about what Tommy liked or didn't like, because he made a crucifix out of flowers. And I was like, whoa.
Whoa,
don't like
wait a second. They don't like crucifixes. Although maybe Tommy wasn't aware of it. I don't know.
That was Hatchet. That was
Hatchet.
Hatchet
was a very angry young man.
Yes.
He was
a ginger.
He was a ginger. It's like my cousin. My cousin Ryan says, gingers have no soul. They have no souls. I was like, where did you get this?
Your cousin said this?
Yeah, Ryan, he's like, I'm the oldest grandchild. He's the youngest grandchild. There's almost 32 years between us. And yeah, he said, yeah, gingers, they don't have souls. I was like, where are you hearing this? Gingers don't have souls.
Not being serious, is he?
He was being serious.
Lately, or when you're a child?
Well, when he was a child.
So they bury their leader because he believed he was going to come back from the dead, and I don't think they knew this. And also,
right
behind
which
them,
is why the mother didn't care.
No,
the mother didn't care what they did with the body because he was coming back. She knew that, so she was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, do what you want to do."
But the atmosphere for this movie was, if you noticed, wherever they were filming, behind them you could see a highway with cars. Just
I did notice that.
Because right away, Sophia's car breaks down, and she's like, "Take a shortcut, the haunted stones."
Here's the seven sisters. What, are you scared?
Yes, there's a highway right behind them.
But I just wanted to back up a little, with the frog ring that I keep incorrectly calling the turtle ring. But they give it away pretty early who Shadwell is, because they have the scene where I'm saying it again, where the frog ring hands her the contract, and then like almost immediately in the next scene, he's waking somebody up by putting their hand on his shoulder. Maybe he's waking up Tom. I can't remember. And it's the turtle ring, or the frog ring again.
What is going on?
I don't know. We'll call this episode Frogs and Turtles.
Okay.
John mixes up his amphibious metaphors.
Who is he waking up? Oh, Tom.
Maybe he's waking up Tom
after being lost in that room.
Yeah, and Tom gets out. Tom passes out on the floor, and then he's on the couch. And the frog ring that you had just seen in the scene. So they give that away pretty early who Shadwell is. He's not the butler. He's the whatever he is, the intermediary between the...
Nothing is shot at nighttime in this film except one scene, which is more expensive to shoot at night. But again...
Oh, the scene outside the bar where he like kills 5 people at once.
He has other things to do, and I'm not sure what those things were. He's back from the dead. He's a biker. These women are like, yeah, I want to go home with you. And he's like, no. I got to go give raspberries to a trucker on the highway.
Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm really thinking a lot of this movie is on the
cutting room floor.
And maybe it was like this great masterpiece, and we're making fun of it. We only saw an hour and a half of it.
Well, I mean, it was fun. I'm not making fun of it. It was, if I'm like, it's a comedy, it's like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Certainly never creepy. Because I thought if he's going to come back from the dead on his motorcycle, they didn't even put some makeup on him. I thought maybe he would look like the living dead a little bit.
Yeah, I thought like when she went to hug him, I thought she would have said, "Oh, you're so cold," or something like that. Like he wouldn't have had any body heat. Wouldn't have thought.
But I guess the important business he had to do was to tell his gang members, "Hey, let's all kill ourselves and just believe you're going to come back."
But the one did not. Was his name Henchy? He mentions the one. The one who killed himself with Jane, the dark-haired girl. Oh, and the actress who played Jane's mother at her funeral, where they open up the coffin and her body's not in there. She was, I don't know. I think she's still alive. She's in her 90s. The actress's name is June Brown, and she was Dot Cotton, the old busybody on EastEnders.
Oh, see, I've been watching
the British soap opera.
I've seen bits of it, but this at this point in the film is where it became a bit funny because, again, they're bikers. One guy kills himself by taking skydiving lessons, which is very expensive, so that he can jump on a plane and not open his chute. I mean, they're supposed to be teenagers too, which they don't look like. And where he got the money to do that, and another guy finds all these chains and gets in his swimsuit.
That was hilarious. Just carrying like these chains. It wasn't an anchor or something. I don't know what the chain was after. But getting back to the skydiving, like they don't let you just jump out of the plane the first lesson. Don't you like have to go through like
that's why I said
like weeks and months of lessons? And lessons. Unless he was taking them before, he's like, oh wow, how opportune. I've been taking skydiving lessons all this time.
Unless he had a gun and he held them at gunpoint, that would have been much more fun. But and the other guy, he just pulls up to a sign that obviously the prop department put by the sidewalk. Big letters, no parking here. Yeah, just a random
it's like a sign where they're advertising like the lunch features that day.
That's what I wrote down.
Is that what you wrote down?
Yeah, it was one of those sandwich signs for
soup of the day. French onion.
And again, a woman is like coming on to him. He's like, nope, no time for this. I got to go.
I got to go kill myself. I got to go kill myself.
He jumps off a building.
And you'd be like, dude, you sing cheesy songs with your guitar. This is the hottest woman you're ever going to get. Just you can. But no, Jane and Tom were standing right there. No.
Oh, that's right. Forgot that.
Yeah, that's why he didn't see. Now, if they weren't there, he might have maybe because he was never going to get a woman that good looking ever.
All those cards.
You're going to kill you. You're going to go kill. You're going to go kill yourself. This cheesy guitar playing, corny songs is not working for you, dude.
Nope. Oh, let's get back to the writer. His name is pronounced?
Oh, Arnaud Dussault. Arnaud Dussault.
He wrote this. He really was blacklisted. He was one of those.
He was blacklisted. He was a fellow communist.
Yes. Yeah, that's right, John. You didn't want to mention that, did you?
I didn't want to mention that because it still hits a nerve. Those 10 minutes I was a communist in 1984.
He came back to write this film.
Most
car chase scenes since the OJ car chase, I think, in this film.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, that, yeah, it's, this, although, you know what, though, as I was like, bad movies go, this was not that bad. It actually kind of kept my attention.
I'm not being mean in a mean way.
No, I know you're not. But I mean, like, I picked Exorcist II Heretic specifically because it was bad and I wanted to make fun of it.
But
I'm still going to make fun. I'm still making fun of this movie, but it actually was. Is it something I would have paid to go to the movie theater to see in 1973? I don't know.
Kids could have watched this biking. They didn't even do drugs. They were at the bar once, having one drink. They weren't having sex that I could see. They weren't playing rock and roll.
Nobody even, except for the guy in the swim trunks. Nobody even took their shirt off. No. The girls, they're girls. They weren't like their breasts weren't spilling out of there. They weren't showing. They didn't even show cleavage.
Just that one.
But my mother still wouldn't have let me go to see this movie because it was motorcycles and obviously the occult.
Just that one biker Jane who was like, baby carriage. I got to run that down.
That kind of did disturb me, I'm going to admit.
Come on, John. I knew it was fake. It was so fake. It was almost like
it was very, very fake. But no, just the idea. But no, it was just like,
I know.
Like of all the, it was like, because it was just kind of so funny and ridiculous. Like, ooh, that's kind of serious, running over a baby carriage.
Well, I was telling Charlie, riding around his unicycle with that tuba. Be careful of the baby.
I know.
Babies are attracted.
Be careful of the baby.
Babies are attracted to tuba players.
To shiny tubas. They are. They see that gleaming brass of the tuba and they go right towards it.
I've seen many babies seriously hurt by Tuba players are
Tubas are the third leading cause of death of babies in this country. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people aren't talking about
and
that.
babies are very attracted to tattoos of pancakes shaped like penises.
Of pancake-shaped penises.
Babies are so attracted.
We could do a public service announcement.
I think we should do a whole episode.
Do you have a baby? Do you have a baby? Do you have a tuba?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a tattoo of a penis-shaped pancake on your head?
Call us.
These are recipes for disaster.
Call us. Hamilton Kelly, lawyers, attorney at laws. I don't know. How do you say that?
You're getting top billing again. I'm assuming we're doing it alphabetically. Okay, that's what I'm going with.
Laws and orders.
Laws and orders.
It's coming back. Law and order.
I know.
What's his name is not around anymore, which is a good thing. He would have got canceled. What's his name?
Well, I mean, there's so many cast members to that
show.
The
mentally disabled person.
Are you thinking L.A. Law?
Oh, yes, John. L.A. Law. I'm thinking L.A. Law.
That was a Manny. Manny was his
or am
name.
I thinking...
Was that
am I thinking
Manny?
Barney Miller?
No, are you thinking Barney Miller? I mean, Maude Holiday was a little slow, but I don't think he was like mentally handicapped.
Or am I thinking?
You're thinking
I'm thinking Kate Nally.
You're thinking Kate Nally.
But yeah, keep your babies away from unicycle.
Keep your babies away.
Riding,
That's where I first heard of
bass players from the SETI BIMCO Orchestra with tattoos.
That's where I first learned of that. That's where I first learned about baby tuba deaths, was from that very special episode of Kate Nally in 1986.
Oh, that's right. Full circle.
One of the daughters was babysitting an infant. It got killed by a tuba. It brought that issue to light. Yeah. I had no clue about it before that episode of Kate Nally.
I know. Who was the guest star in that episode? Veronica Cartwright.
Veronica Cartwright and Jill St. John after she divorced Jack Jones.
Right. Who wrote the theme to The Love Boat? Oh, he sang it. Damn it.
Sang it. We know who wrote it.
Who wrote it?
You know who wrote it. The guy on the Slurpee cup. What was his name again? Paul Williams.
He's got an open invitation to be on the show if he's got a good microphone.
And Kenneth Asher. I'm remembering the Kenneth now. I'm not calling him Peter Asher anymore.
Either of them can come on. But so the conflict here at the end, John, is the kind of good girl Abby. She doesn't want to do this killing herself thing, and
right.
And the police are like getting tired of bikers giving raspberries to truckers and knocking people off of ladders. Well, okay, they ran over a baby carriage. Okay, so the police are kind of
well, that was after all the police. That was after all the police got killed off. Though.
Oh, that's right. They broke.
Which I thought was kind of, because normally like the movie ends with the police, the police having some word about the moral of the story. Yes. Not in this movie. All the police get killed off with like about 25 minutes left to go in the movie.
Right. I forgot about that, John. They came. That's where the actor from Doctor Who. He was the police chief in there, and they came in.
Yeah.
And they killed them all.
Yeah, because they were going to set the trap for the undead with Abby. They were having her pretend she was dead, and then the next thing you know, there they are in those glass boxes.
Well, yeah, in the morgue.
I was like, wait,
John, it's called a morgue.
The morgue. Well, but I mean the glass boxes. And what were those glass boxes? I've never seen a morgue.
It was a fancy morgue. It was like a morgue from Star Trek.
It was like a morgue with like a display. I guess that's how so you can come in and just identify the body. Maybe that was like every morgue I've ever seen on TV had like the metal, like the pull-out drawers.
This morgue was like from
that was left over. That was left over. That was a set. That was something left over from another movie.
Planet of the Apes and Star Trek. It was like the glass morgue. Because you're right. Because they were picking him up, and I'm like, wait a minute. They usually have a big table they pull him out of, and.
Yeah, and this was like a white. What was that thing? It was. I don't know. I'll bet I'm going to start researching movies made at Shepperton Studios, like from the '60s through the '70s, and I'll bet you'll start finding all that. The mother's bedroom.
Yep.
Those glass boxes in the morgue. That table, whatever that was.
It'll be a movie called.
And you're going to see that.
Vampire.
You're going to see all. Yeah, you're going to see all these things in all these other movies. that and that they just reused in this. I'll bet you,
because I'm going to bet that was at least a little bit humorous. They're trying to be humorous again. With Hatchet was knocking on the window, like, "Hello, let me out."
Hello, let me out. Yeah.
So that's where I thought this film, if I were the writer, I thought they were going to go do something dangerous once they thought Abby was dead, and then she would die. And if Tom actually had feelings for her, he'd be like, "Oh no, she's dead, and I loved her." But Tom really was kind of like, he didn't have any feelings one way or the other. I didn't think.
No, and I think she kind of had like that premonition, when she had tried to commit suicide, and she had this premonition that he was just going to walk away. I think he liked the idea of having the control over these people.
Oh yeah.
To get them to commit suicide and to get them to believe that they would come back. He didn't really have any feelings for her, that was obvious.
That was
and I think that was kind of her epiphany, her aha moment, where it's like, wait a second here, why am I doing this for this guy again? I don't want to die.
And then they were just like, you're not actually dead.
I mean, he looks great. Yeah, he looks great in a pair of leather pants. But do I want to die for? Do I want to die for a nice ass in a pair of leather pants? I don't think so.
Those pants were tight.
They were tight, but he pulled them off.
So I guess the mother was like, the whole thing was, we had to deal with our son, but now that our son is letting all these other bikers do this. Right. And she was like, deal's off. Whatever the deal was.
She had it was some sort of faust. Yeah, they weren't clear about that. That's why I'm thinking there's a lot of film on a cutting room floor.
She's like, you went too far. You had all your friends get undead. I just wanted you undead, I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah, so she basically sacrificed herself.
She turned into a frog at the end.
She sacrificed herself because she's like, wait a second.
They all turned into rocks.
Not knowing what the deal was, what was in the contract she signed.
Mm-hmm.
They never really even tried to explain that. But for whatever, she's like, you know what, this isn't worth it. Maybe it was eternal life. Maybe that's what it was.
And
maybe she was going to have eternal life if she, adhered to the contract. That would have been.
I thought this was going to be scary bikers who looked undead. I think I expected.
Yeah, I expected more kind of zombie-like, maybe. I don't know.
And of course, you wanted to talk about this last week, but Mr. George Sanders, this was his last movie.
Right, a movie about people committing suicide.
And
he committed suicide.
I guess he had dementia, was it? And he was like...
Yeah, he had dementia, and I think he had some physical ailments too.
And he left behind a suicide note, which I thought I cut and pasted because, we're a fun podcast.
Yes.
But I
have, yes.
You did it?
Yes, our collection of suicide notes. No, but I have read that. I believe it's in his Wikipedia bio, the letter. It's very, very succinct, I want to say. He left behind 2 suicide notes, one of which read, "Dear world, I am leaving because I am bored. I feel I have lived long enough. I am leaving you with your worries in this sweet cesspool. Good luck."
What's the other one?
That's the only one that was, I don't know, they didn't make public the other one. Probably named names. Betty Davis was a bitch.
So that was Psychomania.
Psychomania, which I actually surprisingly enjoyed.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
I really did.
Next week we're hopefully... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, it wasn't a pathetic ending for George Sanders.
No.
I mean, it was obviously it wasn't the level that he had at one time, obviously, but
he took the role very seriously to the point that it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
He bent over to give the mother those 2 drinks, and he kind of waited a moment. She took one, and he waited as if, "You want the other one?"
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
I did notice that, yeah.
But he took the role very seriously.
He did. I mean, he was a professional. No matter, dementia or whatever health ailments he had. He knew he had a job to do, and he took it professionally. He did a professional job, regardless of the material. So kudos to George Sanders.
So we're going to try a new feature here on SETI BIMCO called the SETI Q&A.
I'll call it
the BIMCO Brain Twist.
SETI Q&A. I love answering quizzes. I love asking questions. I'll call it SETI Q&A again. I do love quizzes.
Do you like quizzes, John? The BIMCO Brain Twist. I love quizzes. Brainstorm. The BIMCO Brainstorm.
Theme song. No. Ooh.
I don't know. Maybe a different name.
Maybe.
But
yeah, we'll figure out something.
We have 4 questions. The SETI 6 would have sounded good, but I don't want 6 questions. That's too many.
That is too many.
4 questions.
So
you ready for these?
I'm ready for them.
So of all the characters in this movie, John, which character, I know this answer already. Which character do you think would most likely purposely fart in an elevator full of people?
I would have to say the redheaded kid. What was his name?
Oh, Hatchet.
Hatchet. Yeah, I would say Hatchet.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no right or wrong, but
right.
I was going to say Shadwell.
Shadwell. Oh, well,
I just feel like
Shadwell wouldn't have been able to help it. I thought you meant purposely.
I do mean purposely, but I think
I don't think Shadwell would have done it. Shadwell might not necessarily have done it what's the word? Purposefully. Purposely. Thank you.
But he may just be like, I can't hold it anymore. I'm too old.
Right. But I'm just saying, maliciously letting one rip, letting one rip. I would say Hatchet.
I say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not interesting.
It's not interesting.
We're talking about farts.
We're talking about farts. We've come to this level. But this is about high school, and there were a lot of fart jokes in high school.
Yes. So question number 2. Which character from this movie, if it were to take place today, which character do you think would most likely to start a podcast?
How about Chop Meat? The guy who played the guitar.
Was that his name?
Chop Meat. Yeah, wasn't that his name?
Didn't... Oh, how did I miss that in my research?
I don't know.
I was really good with my research.
I would say Chop Meat because he was more like the sensitive artsy type, and he would take the time to do a podcast. And
he wrote that song. He played the guitar.
He played the guitar, and he would do a podcast. And now here's like a sub question. His podcast would be about the migratory path of the monarch butterfly.
Was he singing about butterflies in that song?
I don't know, but it sounds like something like he would do,
Or
granola recipes. I don't know. It'd be one or the other.
One line in his song was "Clip your wings like a fly," and I'm like, "What?
What? What?"
I looked it up, or I heard him say that. You may be right. If he lived, If he lived, I'm thinking the Abby. She lived, and she would do a podcast about crime and serial killers, maybe.
Okay, well, it was a toss up. I was also thinking Abby. But I just went with Chop Meat. That's what I went with.
She would have guests on, and
she would have guests talking about friends who believe they would come back from the dead after they committed suicide. It would be like a theme, and of course, the message would be, "Don't do that."
Oh, and if Chop Meat was in his podcast, he would have Charlie, the tuba player from the SETI BIMCO Orchestra. He would have Charlie as a guest.
Yes, he would. And he would, the tuba player, Charlie would just air his grievances against bassists. Since the electric bass did destroy the tuba player.
Stole his job. Yeah. That was a good answer, John. Good answer. Now, I made this question especially for you, John.
Oh, boy.
Which character of this movie would be most at home on the show Dynasty?
Judy. Or
is that the mother?
No, Judy was the dark-haired girl
that ran over the baby. She would have been like the villainess. She would have been like True.
Joan Collins.
True.
She would have been like the villain.
I thought her or the mother. Because the mother is very hoity-toity.
The mother could work too. Yes, the mother could work too. Some of these are photo finishes. I could see the mother too, but I'm going to say Judy, and she just played the bitch.
So I never watched Dynasty. So if we do this question every week, I'm going to have to watch an episode of Dynasty so I can help out with this question.
Yeah.
But she would, in Dynasty, she would
be the bitch like Pamela Sue Martin, Fallon, the original Fallon on Dynasty. Pamela Sue Martin, who played Nancy Drew in the Nancy Drew Hardy Boys mysteries in the 70s. Then after that went off, she was the original Fallon on Dynasty, and she was her character was Joan Collins' character's daughter, so maybe it was genetic. I don't know.
You would like, if you get around to it, I think, like, I don't care if you watch it, but you would like Game of Thrones. It's basically Dynasty with some dragons and some flaming swords. That's the end of the first SETI Q&A.
SETI Q&A.
Send in your letters if you want to hear more Q&A to setibimco@gmail.com. It's SETIBIMCO with the E.
We hate that E.
Follow us on Twitter, SETIBIM at Twitter, and Instagram, SETI_BIMCO. And next week, I think we're going to have a guest. Yay. I never say who, because sometimes they get sick.
Sometimes they get sick.
But,
or they just celebrate a little too hard at Greek Orthodox Easter.
All right. You want to sign off?
Yes.
All right, John. I'll see you next week.
All right, Tim. You have a great week.
SETI BIMCO is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly, produced by Miss Lee, music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.